The Gift of Trust, an inspirational American story. My name is Ethan Miller, and I didn't grow up with much. Not much money, not much comfort, but I had two things that never left me: a stubborn work ethic and a promise to myself that I would never give up. I was raised in a small, two-bedroom house on the edge of a quiet town in Ohio. It was just my mom, my younger sister, and me. Mom worked at a diner, carrying heavy trays of coffee and pancakes for long hours, and still somehow managed to smile at the customers. My sister was smart, always top of her class, but shy around strangers. And me, I was the kid who sat in the back of the classroom, dreaming about a life I wasn't sure I ever have. School was never easy for me, not because I didn't care, but because our bills didn't wait for diplomas. By the time I was 16, I was taking odd jobs cleaning yards, painting fences, delivering groceries, anything to help keep the lights on at home. When I turned 18, I left school early and started looking for steady work. I didn't have fancy skills. I didn't have a college degree, but I could drive, and so I became a driver. Nothing glamorous, just washing cars, filling gas, and taking people from one place to another. I thought it would just be a job. I didn't know it would be the start of everything. One rainy Thursday morning, my old flip phone rang. A man's voice on the other end said, "Mr. Whitaker needs a driver. He's looking for someone quiet and dependable. You come recommended." I didn't ask too many questions. Opportunities like this didn't come to people like me often. So, the next morning, I put on my best shirt, one that wasn't even mine, but borrowed from a friend, combed my hair twice, and drove my rusty Chevy to the biggest house I had ever seen. The place looked like something from an old movie: white stone walls, tall iron gates, a long driveway lined with oak trees that were probably older than the town itself. I parked outside the gate, my hands sweating on the steering wheel. Then the gate opened, and out walked Mr. Whitaker. He was tall but moved slowly, leaning on a cane. His hair was silver, his beard neatly trimmed. His eyes were sharp but calm, like he could see through you without trying. "You're young," he said, looking me up and down. "Yes, sir," I replied. "You're polite," he added. "That's rare these days. I'll give you a trial. Don't talk more than you need to." And that was it. No contract, no handshake. Just a short order and a look that told me he was serious. The first few weeks were silent. I'd pull the car up to the front steps, open the door for him, and drive wherever he told me to go. Sometimes it was to the bank, sometimes to a lawyer's office, sometimes just to the park, where he would sit on a bench for half an hour without saying a word. He didn't make small talk, and I didn't force it. I figured if he wanted to speak, he would. So I focused on being on time, driving smoothly, and keeping the car spotless. One afternoon, as we were stuck at a red light, he suddenly asked, "Do you actually like driving, or is it just a paycheck?" I smiled a little. "I like it, sir. I've always liked cars, and I like going places even if they're not my places." He nodded slowly and went back to looking out the window. But from that day on, he spoke a little more during our drives. He told me stories from his younger years, growing up during hard times, building his business from scratch, traveling across the country, and gas was cheap and motels cost $10 a night. He had served in the army, lost friends in wars, and seen the world change in ways he didn't always like. He once said, "Ethan, people think the world is louder now because of technology. But no, people were always loud. It's just that now, we hear all of them at once." I didn't always understand everything he said, but I listened. I think that's why he kept talking. Over time, he began to trust me with more than just driving. I would help carry his groceries, pick up his prescriptions, and sometimes join him for a cup of tea in his kitchen. The house was huge, but it felt empty. No wife, no children, no visiting friends, just a few staff members who kept their distance. One of the cooks, a kind woman named Mrs. Lopez, once told me, "You're the only one he talks to this much. He's not like this with anyone else." I didn't know why. Maybe I reminded him of someone from his past. Maybe he just liked the quiet. Months passed. I moved into a small apartment above his garage so I could be nearby in case he needed me. The pay was fair, but more than that, I felt respected. Mr. Whitaker was never overly warm, but his small nods, his short thank you, Ethan, meant more to me than I could explain. One chilly autumn afternoon, we stopped at a park by the river. He sat down on a bench under a big maple tree, his cane resting against his leg. "This is where my wife used to sit," he said softly. "She loved the sound of the water." It was the first time he had mentioned her. His voice cracked slightly, and for a few seconds, I saw a sadness in him that went deeper than any words could reach. After that day, something shifted. He began asking for my opinion on which route to take, what color tie to wear, even which pie to order at the diner. Small things, but they mattered. One winter evening, as snowflakes drifted down like little feathers, he handed me a small wooden box. Inside was a silver pocket watch, worn but polished. "This was my father's," he said, "and now it's yours. Because time should be given to those who care about it." I didn't know what to say. My hands actually trembled holding it. "You're like the son I never had," he added. Those words, I'll never forget them. But time, no matter how much you care about it, keeps moving. Mr. Whitaker started slowing down. Doctor visits became more frequent. His steps were shorter, his voice softer. I stayed close making his tea, walking with him to the garden, reading to him from old books when his eyes got tired. Sundays, we would sit in complete silence for hours, and somehow it was the most comfortable thing in the world. Then one afternoon, a lawyer came to the house. After they talked, Mr. Whitaker called me into his study. He told me, very calmly, that he had changed his will. Everything, the house, the car, the savings, would go to me. I was speechless. "I don't need all that," I finally said. He looked me in the eye and replied, "I know you don't. That's why you're the only one I trust to have it." That winter, he passed away quietly in his favorite chair by the fireplace, a book open in his lap. The funeral was small, just a few people, some of whom I had never met. When it was over, I stood by his grave and promised him out loud, "I'll use what you left me to do something good. I swear." And I meant it. In the months that followed, I turned his home into something new, a place for people who had nowhere to go, who felt forgotten. A community center with warm chairs, hot coffee, and open doors. I called it the Whitaker House. Children played in the garden. Lonely seniors found someone to talk to. People brought books, blankets, and food to share. It wasn't about charity, it was about belonging. Every day, as I watched people smile in the same garden Mr. Whitaker once loved, I realized something. He had given me more than money. He had given me trust. And trust, when given to the right person, can change the world one quiet act at a time. Even now, years later, I still keep his pocket watch in my jacket. Every time I hear it tick, I remember the silent drives, the small nods, the lessons spoken and unspoken. I was just a driver once, but because one man believed in me, I became something more. And now, Every time someone new walks through the doors of the Whitaker house, I make sure they feel the same thing he made me feel, that they matter, and that they are home.